Crossing the horizon is one way, with no coming back. So let's fall in. You weigh about the same as you do right now. You're dropping toward a black hole 4 million times the mass of the Sun, the one parked at the center of our galaxy, and your inner ear has nothing to report. No wind, because there's no air. No sense of speed either, because there's nothing nearby to measure yourself against. Your feet point down the well, your head is up, and the difference in pull between them is smaller than what you'd feel standing on a chair. You are in free fall, and your body reads that the only way it knows how. Nothing's touching me, so I'm fine. The horizon of Sagittarius A-star sits about 12 million kilometers out from the center, a sphere roughly 17 times wider than the Sun. As you fall toward it, you go looking for a surface. A shell of fire, a membrane, some line in space where the warning sign should be, and there isn't one. The event horizon isn't made of anything. It's a place defined entirely by a property, the boundary past which every path forward leads inward, light included. Your gut won't believe this part. You cross it and you feel fine. The danger near a black hole isn't gravity itself, it's the difference in gravity across your body, the tidal force. Gravity pulls harder on whatever part of you is closer to the center. Your feet, falling first, get tugged a little more than your head, so you get stretched. The moon does this to Earth's oceans every day, lifting a bulge of water a meter or so on the near side and the far side, gentle and survivable. The lethal version we call spaghettification, and the name is honest about what it does. But tidal stretching depends on how steeply gravity changes from one point to the next, and that gradient is gentler the bigger the black hole is. A small black hole concentrates its mass in a tiny radius, so the gravitational gradient right next to it is brutal. A supermassive one spreads its event horizon across millions of kilometers, and across the few meters of your body, the change is almost nothing. Double the mass, and you quarter the stretch. If you fell toward a black hole with the mass of 10 suns, the tidal force would tear you apart while you were still thousands of kilometers outside the horizon. You'd be a thin stream of plasma long before you arrived. Around stellar mass black holes, spaghettification comes first, and the horizon is something your remains cross, not you. But Sagittarius A-star is 4 million solar masses. At its horizon, the stretching across your body is far gentler than standing upright on Earth. You wouldn't feel it, and you could check your watch, and the watch would be fine. It's the cleanest prediction general relativity makes, no loophole and no trick of bad math, and physicists actually use a name for it: the no-drama scenario. Einstein's equivalence principle says free fall is locally indistinguishable from floating in empty space. This is the closest thing physics has to a magic trick that's completely true. A horizon, in the math, isn't a local thing. There's no instrument you can hold in your hand that pings when you cross it, because at the moment of crossing, your immediate surroundings are unremarkable. Space-time there is smooth, the curvature is mild. If a supermassive black hole's horizon were lit up like a wall, you'd have to ask what physical object is making the light, and general relativity's answer is that nothing is there. So you fall through. No jolt, no threshold. The starfield ahead does strange things, crowding and distorting as light bends around the hole. But locally, in the bubble of space you occupy, the laws of physics read exactly as they did in your kitchen. You'd sail through the most famous boundary in physics and not be able to point to when it happened. Crossing that horizon is the most irreversible thing you will ever do. Not because a door slams behind you, but because of what the horizon is. Outside it, you can always, in principle, fire a rocket and climb back out. Inside it, the center stops being a place ahead of you in space. It becomes a moment in your future, the way next Tuesday is in your future, and you cannot steer away from next Tuesday. To turn around and leave would mean moving backward through time. You can't out-engineer that. It's geometry. The horizon does nothing to you. It only quietly removes the exit. You were falling, comfortable, watch ticking, And at some specific instant, you pass the one-way boundary with nothing in your local experience to mark it. A line that changes everything, invisible from the inside. Then the math catches up. You keep falling, the center sitting in your future, and you're running out of future. For Sagittarius A-star, the most time you could possibly have inside, by your own watch, is about a minute, and only if you somehow dropped from rest right at the horizon. Fall in from far away, the way you did, and you get noticeably less. Most of it will feel fine. You could spend the early stretch genuinely comfortable, looking around, the universe outside compressed into a shrinking patch of distorted light behind you. Then the gradient that was so gentle at the horizon starts to grow. Faint at first, a sense that your feet are being pulled a little harder than your head. The closer you fall to the center, the steeper gravity's change across your body becomes, turning noticeable, then absolute, climbing toward a point where the equations stop giving finite answers at all. In the final moments, you're pulled lengthwise and squeezed sidewise, a strand of what used to be you, racing toward a region where, as far as our physics can tell, density and curvature go to infinity. That's the singularity. We genuinely do not have a theory that describes the center of a black hole. We have a question mark, wearing a lab coat. That's the real shape of falling into a big black hole. A long, comfortable glide, an invisible point of no return, and then a violent finish near the center, all of it inside about a minute. The danger isn't at the door, it's deep inside, where the stretching wins and the equations quit. From outside, it's a different story. Suppose you jump and I stay back at a safe distance, watching through a telescope. I never see you cross. As you approach the horizon, the light leaving your body has to climb out of deeper and deeper gravity to reach me, and it loses energy doing it. Your image reddens and dims. Your motion appears to slow, your watch ticking slower and slower against mine, until you seem to hang just above the horizon, frozen, fading toward black. From my chair, you never quite arrive. You become a smear of stretched, dimming light, and then you're too faint to see it all. You sail straight through in about a minute. I watch you hover at the edge forever. There's no master clock that settles which version is the real one, because in relativity, there isn't a master clock. Your time and my time are genuinely different, and the horizon is exactly the place where that disagreement becomes total. You never feel time drag. Two observers just disagree about when, and physics says both are right. There's also a fight physicists haven't finished having. In 2012, 4 researchers, Almheri, Marolf, Polchinski, and Sully, pointed out something uncomfortable. When you try to make general relativity agree with quantum mechanics, in particular with the rule that information can't simply be destroyed, the smooth, empty horizon seems to break down. Their argument suggested the horizon might not be calm at all. It might be a firewall, a layer of extreme energy that would incinerate you the instant you reached it, not stretch you slowly in the deep, but burn you right at the boundary. This is the firewall paradox. It isn't an observation, and nobody has watched a firewall. It's a tension between two of our best theories, and it might mean the horizon is lethal, or it might mean we're misunderstanding how gravity and quantum information fit together. Most working physicists still treat the smooth, no-drama horizon as the default, and the firewall as a serious sign that something in our theories doesn't yet add up. We don't know which it is, and that's just where the question sits right now. What we can actually stand behind is this: fall toward a small black hole and you die early, drawn into a thread before you ever reach the edge. Fall toward a giant one, like the monster at the center of the Milky Way, and the edge is a non-event. Your weight stays normal, your watch runs true, and you cross one of the most absolute boundaries in nature without a single local clue that you've done it. Then you carry on falling, comfortable, for about a minute, while the center waits quietly in your future. The math was always going to catch you. It just had the patience to let you enjoy the fall first.